Lindenwood Area Senior Ministries provides an important service to area seniors by connecting them with drivers who are able to provide safe, convenient, no-cost transportation for medical appointments.
Lindenwood Area Senior Ministries Transportation Program was really one of the very first programs that we instituted when our ministry formed in 2006. The need for transportation among the older adults that we serve was just one of the very first needs that was mentioned to us, and that people just really let us know that they had a need for.
Listen to some of the people who use this service as they explain how it impacts their lives.
But I've been doing the transportation ministry since I had strep pneumonia in 2014. For a while, I didn't feel like I was strong enough to drive, and definitely not now. In fact, my doctors said no driving.
Well, I came back from New York City, where I had lived for about 30 years, and was dumbfounded, not being able to drive, not having a car, about how I was going to feed myself and get to know a few people. And it turned out that up the alley was the Southwest Baptist Church, and a charming group of people from the Catholic and Baptist and Lutheran churches who are willing to drive me to the doctor, willing to stand by if I had an emergency, and in addition to all that, who turned out to be delightful.
When someone needs a ride for medical care, they first call our transportation coordinator, who will then try to match the request to an available driver.
I called the transportation coordinator and give her the information, the date, the time, the location, and then she reaches out to her drivers and lines up a ride for me, and then calls me back when she has somebody.
And so when the person calls in, I need obviously their name, I need the day and the time and where they're going. And if they don't give me all that information, when I call them back to say, hey, I got it, I will get it at that point anyway, but I have to have the day, the time, where they're going. And what works best for me is to call about 4 or 5 people. And if I'm lucky enough to find somebody right away, that's great. Otherwise, I say, if you can do this, call me back. So then I put the call in, and I talk to the driver, and I give them all that information, and I give them the person's address and their phone number.
Drivers volunteer for a variety of reasons. So let's hear from 2 who explain how they became involved in the program.
So I was drawn to LASM and volunteering with LASM because I was familiar with the organization from my mother. So she was very involved in LASM, and specifically around the driver program. As my mother aged, she benefited quite a bit from the driver program, and it was a big benefit for me as her daughter to have this program really as a backup when I couldn't take her to her appointments. So after I retired, I was looking for an opportunity to get involved with my community because I do live in the LASM neighborhood, and I wanted to give back to the organization that my mother had benefited from, but also it is a high-quality volunteer organization, LASM is, and it really helps the seniors in many ways. The driver program, in my opinion, being a big part of it, but there's also other elements. So I just saw an opportunity to give back to my community, to help seniors, and to really, give back to an organization that my family had benefited from.
Well, it was sort of a natural transition for me. Before I retired, I would help my wife take her parents to the doctor. After I retired, I had a chance to reconnect with a high school teacher who needed rides, who was no longer able to drive, and also a high school classmate of mine who was blind and couldn't drive. About that time, I also met Mary Louise Smith. She was a coordinator, transportation coordinator at that time. We had gone to spring training, my wife and we met Mary Louise there, and she told me about it, and I was thinking of it. And then I think I may have seen something in one of your newsletters saying that you needed some drivers. So that's what attracted me.
Once driver and rider are connected, the driver receives all the information about the appointment and makes the contact with the rider.
Right. Then I'll make sure I get the details from that person in terms of who the client is, where that client resides, their phone number, where they're going to be going, and that sort of thing. And then in between time I have to pick them up for the ride. I'll check the directions, make sure I know where the person lives. Most of them it's pretty easy because they're in the neighborhood. Once in a while they may be in an assisted living facility, and I want to make sure where that is. And then I also want to make sure I know where the medical facility is.
You have the phone number of the senior, and then about a day or two, usually I like to do it 48 hours before you actually pick up the senior. I'll call the senior and just remind them that I'm picking them up, what my name is, what kind of car I have. If it's appropriate, you'll also receive information from the coordinator if there's perhaps a walker or if there's a special situation that the senior may need, like maybe just a little assistance getting up and down stairs, or meet them at the top of their stairs so you can help them down, just common sense things like that. But you won't be surprised by anything. You'll know everything going up front, and you do have the opportunity when you call the senior to introduce yourself if you don't know them and just say, hey, this is me.
The medical transportation ministry is of course important for ensuring that our seniors receive vital medical care, but the impact goes far beyond for both riders and drivers.
Well, it's less worry how I'm going to get to a doctor, who am I going to call. They're always very pleasant. It's a wonderful ministry. I don't know where I'd be without it, especially now since I can't drive at all.
So that's very simple, and it gives me tremendous peace of mind to know I can call and get that backup. But I look forward to going to the doctor because the most charming people take me. And, that's a lot to ask of a stranger, but I have to tell you, they're God's special people. I was lucky enough to make a few friends, and it's been an extraordinary revelation.
Well, I've made some friends, drivers that I have more than once, and some of them I knew, some of them I didn't know, but I pretty much know all of them now.
It's a lifeline for the people that need the rides. Sometimes I feel a little bad that somebody has a really important doctor appointment and they don't have anybody here to take them. So I feel like it's just a great lifeline for people who need rides, and they're incredibly appreciative. And I think the drivers really like it too. They get to talk to people. I think it fulfills a need for both.
Well, first of all, I like to see it has a big impact upon my life. First of all, I really enjoy the opportunity to do so. And I think in their lives, I think they really feel very appreciative. I think even just the conversations, I think a lot of the people perhaps live alone. They don't get a chance to maybe interact with people on a regular basis, maybe other than phone calls. And I sense they just really enjoy that opportunity. And, the conversations don't have to be anything special.
So I really love volunteering in the ride program. So I get to meet some great people, of course, that I never would have met. So that's a lot of fun. You hear a lot. I think a big part of this volunteer opportunity is listening. So yes, you're providing a ride, but you're also listening to stories and, whatever the senior would like to talk about. And I've learned a lot about my neighborhood and my community. So the seniors, many of them have lived here for quite some time. So they'll talk about different landmarks and different things they did when they were younger. You learn so much about the people and your community, and you can see the direct impact that you're having, not only on the individual senior helping them, but also on your community. Don't be afraid to volunteer. It's really easy. This is a situation where as you volunteer, the person receiving your help is just so grateful, and there's such a need that it's just such a big win-win on both sides. There's really no downside. You don't need a special skill other than, I think, probably listening skills. You need to, of course, be, a mindful, a careful driver. That's important. And then your common sense skills, perhaps around helping a senior up and down stairs, navigating maybe the physician's building and things like that. But it's nothing that is out of the ordinary. So I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun.
If you or someone you know would like to talk more about becoming a part of this transportation ministry, we encourage you to call and speak to our staff. You'll be providing an important service to our senior community, and you'll get to meet some very special people.